Some men build walls. Some build empires, some build brands. But the rarest men, they become the ground. The place others find their footing, the silent structure under every storm. The one whose presence is not loud, but felt in their bones. He's not the tallest, he's not the brightest, but when everything collapses, he remains, because he has become what does not move. This isn't Stoicism. This isn't emotional suppression. This isn't strong and silent. It's something much deeper. This is containment, clarity, coherence. This man does not react. He does not perform. He does not run to rescue or posture to protect. He simply becomes the energetic ground beneath the chaos. And because he does, others find stability again. Not through his words, but through his frequency. To become the ground is to stop needing to be understood, to stop performing for approval, to stop flinching when you're misunderstood. Because ground does not need agreement. It does not seek permission. It simply holds. There was a time when I used to mistake power for grounding, when I thought leadership meant direction, that being still was being passive, that if I wasn't moving, I was failing. So I kept speaking, I kept building, I kept reaching. But what I learned, often painfully, is this. The more you chase relevance, the less grounded you become. Because movement without coherence is simply noise, and noise cannot hold anything. The grounded man doesn't chase silence, he becomes it. He doesn't wait for the storm to end, he remains present within it. He doesn't need to be right, he doesn't need to be first, he doesn't even need to be seen. He simply is, and because he is, others reorient. Not around his personality, around his presence. You don't become grounded by saying less, you become grounded by needing less recognition, less emotional validation, less response from others to confirm your coherence. You stop adjusting to stay comfortable. You stop rescuing others from the consequences of their own chaos. You stop offering signal to fields that refuse to hold it. And in that stillness, you begin to feel it. The ground. The man who becomes the ground feels different to everyone. Some are drawn to him. Some are intimidated, some walk away, because his structure reflects their instability. But the ones who stay, they recalibrate, not because he told them to, because his presence made distortion impossible to maintain. Ground is not authority, it's not control, it is the absence of reaction. Think about ground, it doesn't move, it simply is. And it's what's left when you no longer need to handle everything. When your presence is no longer tied to performance, when others fall apart, you simply don't move because you are the ground. Not because you don't care, but because you don't collapse, just to make them comfortable. The grounded man does not make himself small so others can feel big. He doesn't soften his clarity just to keep the peace. He doesn't compromise resonance to avoid being misunderstood. He simply becomes what does not shift. And those who are ready feel safe for the first time in their lives. There will come a time, and maybe you've already experienced this, when the woman in your life will test your structure, your groundedness. Not maliciously, but instinctively. She will push to see what moves. She'll question to see what collapses. And if you're not grounded, you will interpret that as attack. But if you're coherent, you will feel the opportunity to remain, to hold, to not flinch. And in doing so, you show her what a man really can be. Not loud, not aggressive, but unshakable. In business, the grounded man doesn't chase clients. He doesn't over-explain his work. He doesn't shift his voice every time the market pivots. He stays consistent, precise, rooted, grounded. And the people who resonate find him, because signal travels far when it is clean, and nothing is cleaner than stillness with purpose. When you become the ground, your worth no longer fluctuates with engagement, relevance, or praise. You stop measuring impact in likes, followers, or applause, because you understand the most powerful structures often go unseen. The mountain does not market itself, the ocean does not ask for permission, and the ground beneath your feet doesn't need to be visible to be trusted. It just is, and it holds everything. So how do you become the ground? You slow down. You clarify your signal. You remove what is incoherent. You say no often. You feel your own internal field stabilize, and you stop chasing mirrors. And when the urge rises to perform, to prove, to push, you do nothing. You return to center. You return to rhythm. You return to presence. And over time, you become unmissable. Not because you're louder, but because the world needs what doesn't move. There's a man emerging in this world who no longer seeks to impress, to guide, to rescue. He simply holds the frequency of who he is without apology. He becomes the place others find alignment again. Not because he said the right thing, but because his stillness didn't fracture when theirs did. That man is the ground. When he speaks, the whole field listens. Not because he demanded it, but because stillness always carries the strongest signal. Welcome to The Architect Speaks.